Well, how's it going, guys? It's KidLiquid, it's Chris Okamura, KidLiquid. It is December 4th, 2014, and so I decided to go ahead and start a blog series. It's a Thursday, so I leave tomorrow for IEM San Jose, so I figured why not go ahead and do a short vlog about my predictions and my thoughts on the event, and then we can go ahead and do a recap one when I get back on, I think, Monday. So yeah, we can go ahead and do that. But I have done a lot of research on both the StarCraft 2 and the League of Legends side. I will be working at both. I've done quite a bit of breakdown and sort of analysis of that. So I guess we can jump right in. Let me go ahead and swap this out. Awesome. So we have the tournament format here. We have the site up. These are the open brackets. So if you guys don't know, with the open brackets, Gumio, Super, and Huck made it out of the first open bracket, and True, Revival, and Symbol made it out of the second. So they were thrown into the pool of players that were already invited. So Rain, Snoot, First, Polt, Jaedong, 4GG, Hyun, Hero, QXE, and Bomber were all invited to the event already, and seeded into the groups, and these players were just kind of added in. So I guess we'll start with the kind of StarCraft, or I guess we're already starting with the StarCraft 2 side. And so with Group A, I think Group A is probably one of the it's the easiest group to call like a clear-cut winner in my opinion. But getting that second place spot, I think, is something that's up for grabs, kind of. I think Rain's gonna come out ahead in the group right away. I think we haven't seen him in like a premier event in a while, but he still looks really solid. And from just my memories of Rain and like the nostalgia of Rain, I just think he's gonna come out ahead in this event. True is still a little kind of shaky. He didn't look too good in the open bracket. He came out alive, but I mean he just hasn't looked overly strong. And again, we haven't seen him in too much stuff. I think Snoot's playing unbelievably well. He has been all year, and I think he's one of the most consistent players we've had in the scene, especially a foreign player. And then Huck, of course, is coming back up. He's having sort of like a resurgence, a renaissance, if you will. But I just don't think... I still think Snoot's the stronger player between the two, and I think that, you know, I see Rain and Snoot coming in. But depending if True and Huck can go ahead and step up, I think they can go ahead and knock Snoot off of that second spot. But I do think Rain's getting out for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and call Rain and Snoot for Group A. Group B, I think, is the group of death. Very, very easily. It was originally first Polt Jaedong, and then they threw in Revival after the open bracket, and that's just absolutely insane. So it's actually, in my opinion, the strongest group overall. There are groups with stronger players in them, but I think like this one overall is just going to be the most stacked. Yeah. So I mean, everyone knows about Polt and Jaedong. I think both of them are probably the biggest names in the bracket here, especially Jaedong. I mean, Jaedong's just had this thing all year and for a while now of just not being able to win the big event and not being able to really perform when the pressure is on, so to speak. And Polt kind of thrives in that, I think. He does it at MLGs, he does it in all kinds of other events where, like, when the pressure's on, when the big match is happening, he tends to really show up and have some great performances. He looked really good in WCS America, and he did go ahead and 2-0 Jaedong at that event. So, I mean, I think Polt's coming in really strong, and I think Jaedong's coming in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. So I mean, he maybe have something to prove there a little bit. I think Revival, we haven't seen him in a while. Doing too many premier events or major events. We see him here and there, but I mean, we haven't consistently seen him for a while now. He looked really good in open bracket, but again, the only major player he really played was Seed. And of course he won against Seed, but I mean that was really the only kind of test we really had of Revival there. So not too much to go off of. And then First, we haven't seen him again. We haven't seen him in a while. A lot of these players we just haven't seen in a while. But he did look solid when we did the last time we did see him. And from my memory of First and so sort of the research I've done, he does look really strong. I just think that Jaedong and Polt are a little bit above, but Revival and First are still really strong competitors, and I think they can give Jaedong and Polt a run for their money a little bit. Group C, I think, is really interesting as well. We have a lot of different players here. So, like, 4GG just won DreamHack, literally just won DreamHack last week. So I think he's coming off that hot streak. He wants another victory. He's thirsty for that victory. He beat Life. That's a huge thing. He beat the world champion Life at DreamHack Winter. So I think that's really cool. I think he's coming in with a good mindset. And Gumio's been around forever, but he only beat he didn't really. He had the easiest road in my opinion through that open bracket. He beat Huck, Puck, and Super. Super wasn't playing overly well. He still got through the open bracket, but he just wasn't playing that well. Huck again, he's a foreign player. He's going through a resurgence. He's playing a lot better than he's getting back to form, but I don't think he was ever at that top level Korean form anyway. And Puck, I just don't think is up to the level of competition that's in the bracket right now. And then Hyun's been super consistent, one of the most consistent players throughout the entire 2014 season, WCS America, WC, all kinds of just crazy results. I think he's placed at least top 4 in the past 5 premier events. Absolutely ridiculous. I think Hyun's just an unbelievably strong player. He has been for a long time. And again, Symbol Symbol used to be really strong, and he still is strong to a certain extent, but he did look a little bit shaky in the open bracket. I think he lost to Harstem. He eventually came back against Harstem and beat him 2-0, but I mean he did lose to Harstem. Oh, wait, was it Harstem? Yeah, I think it was Harstem. But yeah, he just didn't look as strong. Let me take a look actually. Was it Harstem? Harstem's in this one. Yeah, so he did lose to Harstem and then eventually came back and 2-0'd him. But yeah, it just didn't look that strong from the games that I watched. But I do have 4GG and Hyun coming out of that group. I just think 4GG again on that hot streak, just coming off that win against Life, and he is playing against Hyun and Symbol as his big major competition in that group. 2 Zergs, so he should have some very good experience coming out of that. I don't think Gumiho is necessarily playing that well, and Hyun again just super consistent. So I think he should be able to take out Symbol and Gumiho pretty easily. Nothing major there. With Group D, I think this group has the strongest players, but it's pretty easy to call. I think Hero has had unbelievable 2014. He's what I call the IEM superstar. He's won 3 or 4 IEM events this year, which is absolutely ridiculous. He's just played super well. He always performs at IEM events. He is the Intel Extreme Master, so to speak. But I think he's just been playing unbelievably strong. QXC, rest in peace, QXC. I don't see him performing at all against anyone here. Nothing against QSC. He's a great guy. I just don't think I think the level of competition is a little too high. Bomber's definitely one of the favorites. I mean, he showed at all these last couple events like WCS America, and I think he at BlizzCon and everything like that, he showed that he's still a top tier player. I think he's probably one of the favorites, and maybe even the favorite to come out and win this tournament. Super, he's been around forever. It seems like he looked solid in the open bracket, but I mean nothing too special, nothing to write home about. So I think Hero and Bomber are coming out of that group. I think those are probably the top 2 players at this event right now that I would say that I'm kind of leaning towards. And they're in the same group, but I think they're both going to get out. So the playoff bracket, they haven't really said how they're going to seed the playoff bracket. Or at least I haven't seen anything, so I can't really call matchups here and sort of follow the bracket down. But yeah, I think again here I think Hero, Bomber, Jaedong, and Hyun are the 4 favorites. I think any one of those 4 can take it. I think Jaedong might choke again, even though I want Jaedong to win so bad. I think it comes down to Hyun, Bomber, and Hero, and I think Bomber's gonna go ahead and drop off, and I think it's gonna be between Hero and Hyun, and I think Hyun's gonna do it. I don't know why. I just have a feeling. Watched a lot of the games, a lot of the streams, and a lot of replays of games, and I think Hyun's got this one with the matchups and everything like that. I won't get too much into it because that's gonna be a super long video, otherwise. But I think Hyun's my pick for coming out as the StarCraft 2 IEM San Jose champion. So yeah, So I guess we'll move on to League of Legends for now. I'm super excited for this League of Legends event. You have no idea. I think the changes with 420 are really interesting. I've played quite a bit of solo queue on it, and I just think it's super interesting. I've talked to a ton of people, a ton of players, a ton of analysts, coaches, everything. I think this tournament's gonna be extremely interesting. Uh, but I mean, let's go ahead and break it down. So Alliance and TSM both get buys, so they automatically get put into the semifinals. Pain Gaming against Cloud9. Uh, yeah, I don't really see any question as to why Cloud9 shouldn't win that game. I think Pain Gaming's playing really strong. They looked really good in the Brazilian bracket. They beat out Kaboom. They actually destroyed Kaboom. But I think that I just don't see them going ahead and beating Cloud9. So I'm gonna go ahead and move Cloud9 over to play Alliance. Unicorns of Love and Lion Gaming. I honestly haven't seen too much of either one of them. I watched all of the challenger matches that Unicorns of Love were in, but I mean they did change their jungler. Lion Gaming, I just don't know too much about, but I mean Unicorns of Love is just a really interesting team. I think I like their rotations, I like the champion pools, so I'm gonna go with Unicorns of Love. Uh, and then they're going to go up against TSM. I think Cloud9 and Alliance is the interesting matchup here. So, in my opinion, and this is completely I think nothing that happened at Worlds really matters right now because Alliance does have Reckless now. That's a completely different dynamic. I think the jungle changes are huge. So here's the way I'm breaking it down. It's I've watched a ton of scrims of teams playing on 420, and I've asked a ton of the players personally. I'm not going to get into who I've talked to or what players I've talked to from either team or from other teams. But my opinion, I think Cloud9 relies so much on Meteos to make a play and to help out and with that objective control, and it's to sort of be that driving force before that team. I think he's such an important piece. And Cloud9 is always famous for going ahead and adjusting to strategies and sort of adjusting and adapting very well to new patches and to changes in League of Legends. But I think that with the huge changes in the jungle and the big differences that are going on, maybe it's going to take away from Meteos' ability to play make or to play that normal style and help out his lanes. And I just think Alliance has stronger laners. And I think that Alliance really doesn't use Shook to make plays. Shook is just there as sort of a safety net and playing defense a little bit, just sort of taking care of the jungle, maybe going ahead and counter jungling, going ahead and trying to find the enemy jungler to 1v1 him really quick or to just kind of slow him down and annoy him, keep the lanes in check. So I don't see him being that huge playmaker, and I think Shook's pretty consistent when Alliance is playing really well, and I don't think the Cloud9 laners are really individually strong enough to go ahead and challenge Alliance's laners. I mean, I think Balls is really talented, but I think Wicked does play a little bit more defensive. I think he did do a great job of that last season, and I think we can go ahead and continue that moving forward. And I think I think Balls isn't going to be able to really force the issue, and if Meteos isn't there to really help him push and force the issue, I don't think that's going to really snowball anything. So I do have Alliance coming out of that, and again, that's just because of the jungle changes and the changes with Meteos. I'm not sure how they're going to adjust. TSM versus Unicorns of Love. Obviously, I'm going with TSM here. I don't think Unicorns of Love has enough experience at a high enough level to go ahead and take out TSM, even with Santorin. I think Santorin's a really strong mechanical player. I think he's just young, and I think being around the environment that he is with a very strong infrastructure and a coach and analysts and players that are very experienced, I think that's really going to help him. And I think he's going to grow very very quickly within TSM, and I think TSM's this is a big tournament for them, and so they're going to want to show and come out with guns blazing. Even though it's Unicorns of Love, they're not going to take them easy, and they're just going to go ahead and stomp them out, which is going to be TSM versus Alliance in the final. And so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the jungle changes again. So again, I think Shook is not any kind of special jungler. I think he's a really good one. I think he's just solid. Santorin, again, I just don't think while he is mechanically skilled, I don't think he's has the experience that Shook has, and so he might not be used to adjusting to changes as quickly on the fly. Maybe he hasn't had as much time on the patch, or not used to adjusting as quickly. Um, and again, just not used to playing up to that LCS level. So I think Shook is very much adjusted to that, as he should be. And I think he's going to be able to outplay Santorin in that jungle. And on the other side, with the solo laners, I don't think any lane has a really particularly high or big advantage. I think maybe Dyrus has an advantage over Wicked again, like Balls did. But again, I don't think that Dyrus is going to be able to really force the issue. And I think Reckless and Nymph, even though they maybe do have a lack of synergy because Reckless just joined the team. I think that he's just so much more consistent than Turtle right now, from what we last saw of Turtle. That lane's really going to go ahead and jump in Alliance's favor, at least in my opinion. I think Lustboy is a great support player, but I think that Wild Turtle's just super inconsistent, and he has been for pretty much all of Summer Split and Worlds. And so, with certain champions, yeah, maybe not, but I mean, the majority of the time, I think he was just very inconsistent. So I do see, Alliance going ahead and taking the entire tournament. And I mean, I wanted to touch on something too with Alliance, that of why I think the Reckless pickup was so great, and why it's not really a huge factor, the synergy factor of it. I think TSM as a whole, or no, not TSM, I think Alliance as a whole last season was a pretty defensive team, right? So like Froggen, Shook, Wicked aren't really trying to make plays. They're great players at going ahead and finding a small opening and going ahead and punishing and exploiting the mistake that you made or the opening that you created for them. I think that while Tabs maybe it was naturally aggressive, I mean that I think he did tone it down a bit for that playstyle, and I think Nymph sort of reeled him in a little too far, and made that team sort of ultra defensive. And I think the problem with that was they just had a hard time when they got hit in the mouth. I mean, they're a team designed to take punches and go ahead and find the opening and then go ahead and fight back. I think that when they got hit in the mouth and teams weren't giving them those openings, or those openings weren't big enough to go ahead and get enough of a lead back. Like when a team kind of jumped on them early, or they got a big lead, Alliance wasn't able to climb back because they weren't making plays, they weren't forcing the issue. And so I think that was a big issue. And I think with Reckless is a player that loves to make plays. He loves to go ahead and initiate, or maybe not initiate, but go ahead and try to force something and force the issue, get really in the enemy's face and sort of jump in and have no fear. And I think he's mechanically strong enough to go ahead and do that. And I think, even if Nymph goes ahead and kind of reels him in like he did with Tabs, I think Reckless has a strong enough personality and a strong enough style of play that it's not going to be to the extent that Tabs was reeled in a little bit. And maybe you don't want your AD carry going ahead and falling up. And the reason I think that happened with Fnatic was you have Soaz, you have Peke, you have Yellowstar, you have all of these kind of star players, so to speak, that want to go ahead and make a play, that initiate and force the issue. And so while you have everyone going ahead and doing that, it does create a little bit of hectic chaos within a team fight, or within certain situations, that you're going to go ahead and confuse each other, and you're not going to be able to back each other up because you've blown everything you have trying to make your own play. And I think that that's why Fnatic was so inconsistent throughout the entire split. Or through the end of the split, and at times all throughout last year, even through spring and summer. So I think that that could be a bit of an issue with them when you have too many playmakers, right? There's no one to follow up. There's no one to go ahead and help peel or follow up. And I think that with Alliance, Reckless now has a team where no one's going to go ahead and try to make that play without the opening, while Reckless is going to go ahead and force the issue. And the rest of his team, the entire rest of his team, are kind of those supportive carries that are going to go ahead and help follow up and go ahead and take over everything. And and sort of help him snowball and win the game. Even if he dies, maybe he's created that opening that they've needed. He's opened that window of opportunity. That's why I think Alliance is going to be really strong. I think the synergy factor of it isn't too big of a deal. I think we have to wait and see. And from what scrims I've seen, it doesn't look too bad. There's certain communication issues and things like that, but I think they were working with each other a lot longer than people really know about. So just my opinion of it. So again, guys, we do have for IEM San Jose 2014. I do have my picks being for the League of Legends side Alliance, and I do have for the StarCraft 2 bracket Hyun. And so those are my two picks. I'm going to go ahead and stick with them. Again, I leave tomorrow, and then I fly back in on Monday. So we'll go ahead, probably do a vlog on Tuesday to go ahead and talk about the event, how it was, what it was like. I'm super excited. I love IEM events. I love ESL. I think they have a great production staff. And I think it's going to be a ton of fun. The casting lineups for both games are great. And yeah, I'm just super excited for the event. But yeah, we'll talk about it more later when I get back, and we'll see how it goes. But thank you for watching the first sort of vlog that I'm doing here, and yeah, I hope you come back for more, and I hope I get to do a little bit more later on. Have a good day, guys.